Oh my goodness, I'm so glad to be back with you guys. I love doing the interviews for the past few weeks, but honestly, I've missed y'all. I've missed looking at my computer screen and talking to nobody. Well, I'm just kidding. I think of you guys being here, whoever that is, and I have missed talking to you. So, do you remember the days when we were kids and we got to do like reverse dinner? Did your parents ever do that? Where you did dessert first and then dinner? Well, that's what we're going to do today. I'm giving you dessert first because I want you to hear something that's important. But before I give you dessert, first I'm going to give you my intro because I haven't done that in actually several weeks. So, intro first and then dessert, and then I'll give you the dinner. Hold on just a second. Welcome to the Uplift Effect podcast. This is Jill, and I am the host and owner of the Uplift Effect Coaching and Consulting. I transform moms and children from chaos to calm. That is my calling. It is what I love doing, and you are going to hear evidence of the two things that bring me to this podcast. First, and probably most importantly, I am a mother of 4 children. And while they are not all tiny anymore, I have 3 teenagers at home, which, oh my goodness, and I have 1 young adult that is in college. But the other thing is, I come to this with a background as a grief and trauma therapist and have spent years helping families in crisis. And if you're wondering about the V formation, the birds, the logo, head on back to the very first episode. It's a very cool story. It is well worth a listen, and it will help this all make much more sense. I am on social media, Facebook and Instagram. You can find me there. I also have a YouTube channel. Maybe that's how you're listening. But if you would like more information and how to work with me more directly to transform your chaos to calm, you can DM me through those avenues. Thank you so much for listening to the Uplift Effect podcast. In case you haven't been around long, or you're just now joining us, or you've been distracted and just missed this every time, here's the dessert that I want you to know about. I am a parenting coach, and what I do full time is I work with moms, and now I want to reiterate stepmoms, bonus moms, people who are co-parenting, and I help them develop and create a stress-free household by using my framework called Chaos to Calm. Sounds like an easy task, huh? Well, to tell you the truth, it's actually not as hard as you may think. You know, the children are actually like clockwork. They're just reactionary. That part's actually the easier part. What's more complicated is our thinking, how we choose to think as adults and work with things that are going on in our own lives and our own personal chaos that stem from our background that affect what's going on in today. That's actually a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more difficult to work with. The kids, for the most part, they're pretty consistent and they're pretty much motivated most of the time by the same things. Here's the deal. I have begun to realize that if I'm going to work with moms who have homes that are in chaos, and my goal is to help coach them to work that situation from chaos to calm, one of the things that started coming up is that a large number of these mothers were stepmoms. They were co-parenting. And that was creating a dynamic that is very, very different than a first-time marriage, mom and dad together type of scenario. And I cannot think of anything more stressful than to be a bonus mom, to have remarried. So I'm divorced. I have my own kids that live in my house full time. And I have my ex-spouse to co-parent with. But then if I were to get remarried, I have their potential ex-spouse, and all of the children all of the different rules, all of the different expectations, all of the different personalities and the extended families, and it just goes on and on and on and on. That is a lot to juggle. And as I began to interact with moms and realize, I knew this, I've always known this, I've been divorced for 12 years. I know co-parenting is hard. But as I began to realize the number of moms currently, right now, who are bonus moms and are trying to navigate step parenting, parenting their own biological children, and then the child that they have with their new spouse, and all of those dynamics are very, holy camoles. And you know how many moms have said, I'm not having fun. I thought this was going to be fun. I really loved him, and I do still love him, but this isn't fun. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I began to start interviewing these moms. I began to start doing some research. And now I want to tell you that I am adding to my program, Chaos to Calm. I'm adding to that to accommodate bonus moms and stepmoms, because there is no greater potential for chaos than the pressure cooker of a blended family. How's that sound like fun? I am actually very thankful for the mothers who have shared their stories with me. It is very vulnerable. There have been a lot of tears. They have been willing to tell a total, complete stranger over DM and over Zoom some of their stories. And while I will not disclose any of these people, I want to tell you about some of the things that they have said. And I also want to, at the end of this, to give you hope and remind you that we are able to do a very good job doing things that are very hard. Okay, so that was the dessert. Now here's the dinner, the main course. This is where all of the other has started from. Okay, so I did a little research. In 2020, the divorce rate actually went down. I don't think for a second that's because marriages are better. No, it's actually most likely because the court systems were closed because of 2020. Law offices were closed because of 2020. Our divorce rate is typically between 50 and 60% in this country. Right now, it's in the 40s. The information that I can find about the Census Bureau and how they document these things is their suspicion is that we are fixing to see a huge rise in divorces, the ones that weren't actually happening in 2020. But I want to tell you a few other things. I looked up some information, a few little numbers for you. The rate of a second marriage, the rate of divorce in a second marriage is at 67%. The rate of failure in a third marriage is 74%. This is not including the people who are cohabitating. If you were to include those, it appears that it would be over 80% of people who were attempting another relationship only to then find another failed relationship. Roughly 60% of our children are being raised in homes where they are being co-parented, meaning two different sets of homes, two different sets of parents, or step-parented, meaning their parents have then remarried and they still have two homes, but they have now bonus moms, bonus dads, whatever. So I went on a little field trip to Barnes & Noble yesterday in my town. I live outside of town, but this store happens to be in a pretty good-sized town. There are thousands and thousands of books in this store. And if you're on TikTok, go look me up, Jill Falling. You'll see where I did a little video. And I would like to say, within less than 24 hours of posting this video on TikTok, I am just shy of 102,000 views on this video. It went viral. And the other thing that's pretty funny is my kids are trying to figure out how their mother went viral on TikTok when they can't even go viral on TikTok. And no, I'm not dancing. My face isn't even in the thing. But like I told them, some of us, we just got skills. Anyway, okay, back to where I was, back to the bookstore. You'll see where I did a little video and I took pictures of the psychology rows, psychology books that are pretty close to self-help stuff, the personal growth aisle that has thousands of personal growth books. There were two little cabinets of parenting books, one of which was all about pregnancy and newborn babies. So then really there's only one little section on parenting, and I mean small section. And of all of those, I went through every single one of them. There was one book in this entire bookstore that I could find, and I spent a lot of time to be sure that I had checked all of the possible areas. One book on step parenting that had a little section in there about co-parenting also, because they are very similar, although there are some differences. There's a huge disconnect there. And one would also argue, I as a therapist will tell you, all those personal growth books and the number of people I see that have coming into private practice, going into a clinical setting, needing help, the self-help books aren't helping. So I guess I shouldn't be so bent out of shape that there's only one step parenting book, because obviously writing a book isn't where the answer is. And I know that. But it works me up, in case you can't tell, that group of people, I mean, hey, listen, I've been talking to stepmoms for weeks now, interviewing them, asking them a lot of questions, doing polls on my social media sites, digging in, asking them more on the DMs. What specifically? Give me examples. And all of this, it is truly the hardest of the hard. There's nothing more difficult than parenting. Parenting children who are not your children, but being asked to sort of parent, having the role of a step parent, being asked to go pick them up from school and run all the errands and do all the things, but your hands are tied on making any decisions. And if you say anything, that's going to get back to the other parent and turned around. Of course, it always does. And it's never in your favor. I mean, this is the hardest of the hard, which, by the way, is why I haven't chosen it. But I do co-parent. I am divorced. I've been divorced for 12 years, and this is not easy. And so there's one book, like really one book out of all of the thousands of books in a bookstore that address something that affects our population so significantly. And oh my goodness, our poor children are suffering. But here's the thing. I had some people make some comments on TikTok that the bookstores just sell what people buy. And while I understand supply and demand, for sure, I mean, I'm no economics expert, by no means, but I understand supply and demand. I think that's actually kind of my point. This is affecting more than 60% of our population, and yet people aren't taking it seriously enough to demand the need for the supply. A few other people said, well, people don't read books anymore. They just get the information off the internet. Maybe. Yes, there is also something to say for online purchasing and Kindles and all that kind of stuff. This is just a data point. But the reality is in my mind, the picture of having that one book out of all of those thousands, you will not be able to convince me that that is not also representative of how our society is actually addressing this issue that's affecting most every one of us. Now listen, what I do now is I coach moms to help them navigate a home that is out of control, to help them create stress-free households by using a framework that I created called Chaos to Calm. The reason is because my concern for children as a grief and trauma therapist in my professional background who has worked with children, who has a passion and a heart for helping our children navigate difficult adult issues. Because really, this is never going to get better until we start raising a generation of children who are better. But that starts with our home, and it starts with adults knowing what to do with very difficult circumstances so that we can help raise children who are emotionally intelligent enough to not repeat the past. So here's the deal. I'm all kinds of worked up. My blood pressure's up. My heart rate's up. I need to get myself calmed down. Speaking of chaos to calm, here's the deal. There is hope. There is a way to turn this around. Hey, Mom. Hey, stepmom. There is a way to make this better. There is a way to cope better, and there is a way to interact with your bonus children and also your own children who are in the mix of this, which is also very complicating. There is a way to do this very well. You don't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be done perfect. But you can do it very well. You can still give your children and your bonus children exactly what they need. But you might need some help, you might need some coaching, and you might need some direction. And that is why I have the framework that I have, Chaos to Calm, for moms, and I am now adding to that for stepmoms and bonus moms. Because there is no greater chaotic home environment than the one that is blended. That is hard. And I want you to know that there is hope. There is a way to do it well. And I am going to provide material for you. I am starting to put together a course and a coaching system for you specifically that you can use to navigate this and do this so that your confidence is not wrecked, so that you can still feel like you can navigate this with your own biological children in a way that doesn't wreck their lives either. And we can do the very, very best we can with very difficult circumstances. But I also want to leave you with a few things that I think just a few nuggets. If you are doing this co-parenting, and if you're doing this stepmom thing, keep in mind these three things. Number one, you can only control what's in your lane. Number two, when other adults do things that are wrong and misbehaving and inappropriate, as long as it is not abusive, it's a different story. But when they are choosing to be selfish and inappropriate, you have to remind yourself, and there are times where we can teach our children that is about them and that is not about us. Their choices are a reflection of them, and they are not a reflection of us. Number three, one of the most important things you can do is to continually work on the relationship with your bonus children. Keeping that stable and comfortable for them is going to serve you well. Children naturally gravitate towards the path of least resistance. While they are almost always going to have an allegiance to their biological parent, Even still, there's going to come a point in time where most of the time they're going to gravitate towards the parents that are more stable and who do not put them in the middle. And by that I mean they're not talking badly about the other parent. They're not asking the children to be stuck in the middle by trying to negotiate things with the other parent that the adults need to be doing. And if you do not put your bonus children in that position, you will be serving them well. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. You knew that on the upfront. But I am saying that down the road, if they don't have a memory of you bad talking their mom or their dad, if they do not have a bad memory of you putting them in the middle of something that the adults should be handling, you are going to come out on top because of those decisions that you've made. You can only control your lane. Do the best job you can to do your lane and do your lane well. Build a solid relationship with that child as best as you can. Do not give up. They didn't ask for this. And remind your children, remind yourself that when other people in the world show us who they are, their behavior shows us who they are, that they are showing us about who they are. They are not talking about us. That is not a reflection of us. So keep those three things in mind. Be watching, because I have some special stuff that I have coming out for you who are co-parenting and or also step-parenting. I think it will help make a difference. And Lord knows we need the material, because you are not going to find it at the bookstore. I can promise you that. All right. Until I talk to you next Monday, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being a part of this. Please, please, please share this with your friends, your mom friends, your sister friends, your neighbor friends, your cousin friends, who are also journeying this very difficult journey. If you want to talk to me, you want to message me, my contact information will be in the show notes, and you can contact me there. Have a fantastic week, and I will talk to you next Monday. Bye-bye.